Hey everybody, it's Michelle Burkhart with thesavvymind.com, and thanks so much for joining in on the conversation about analysis paralysis. And I hope you'll find something that's really worthwhile here and a good use of your time. You know, I think as women business owners, we have to make decisions all the time. Now, some of them are easier to make because they don't make a big impact on our business. But the ones that do impact our business pretty strongly, sometimes we get stuck just not knowing which way to turn. And so we just start analyzing it, and we analyze it to a point that we're just stuck and we are paralyzed and we don't do anything. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Is like, what is it really? Well, analysis paralysis is really spending so much time looking at that situation that you don't pull the trigger on anything. You don't decide yes and you don't decide no. That's kind of you just keep thinking about it. And then when somebody says, well, what did you decide? You're like, well, I'm not done thinking about it yet. It's sort of like we think if we think about it enough, that miraculously the right decision is just going to just shine like, we think that's going to happen. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't happen, right? So that's kind of the long answer. The short answer is that analysis paralysis is really a result of a block that your subconscious mind puts up. And that block is fear. And anytime we try to do something bigger and bolder, okay, our brain's like, oh my goodness, she's trying to do something that is really kind of outside her comfort zone. And the job of your subconscious is to preserve and to protect you. So anytime you try to do something outside that comfort zone, it's going to throw up a block, and fear is one of those blocks. So anytime you're trying to do something that might require some extra effort, or might require you, maybe it's going to embarrass you, or it's going to make you work hard, or it's going to make you feel uncomfortable, or maybe embarrass you, or maybe it'll backfire. Anytime you're feeling anything other than safe and warm, your subconscious mind is going to throw up a block, and fear is a block. And the analysis paralysis is one way of dealing with that fear. Now, what is a better way of dealing with that fear? First thing, honestly, is you can acknowledge it. And you know what? Not every decision we make is going to be a great decision. We have to just embrace that and know that that's just the way it is. There are other things we could have done, of course, and that's how we grow, by learning. We make mistakes, we learn from them, we don't make them hopefully a second time, right? So you want to acknowledge this fear. The other thing you really want to do is maybe if you really are feeling stuck, and if this is a big deal for you, and you are feeling that not only are you feeling fear in the form of analysis paralysis, but it's affecting you in some other ways too, well then go through the kind of the and then what exercise. And what that is start with here. Let's say you have to spend $5,000, or you're thinking about spending $5,000 in advertising on your business, right? And then you're like, well, what if it doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't work, well, then what would happen? Well, then I wouldn't have any budget to spend on anything else. Well, then what would happen? Well, then I'd have to find ways to market my business that didn't cost anything. Well, then what would happen? Well, then I would have to maybe just rely on social media. And then what would happen? Well, if I had to do that, well, then I would be spending a lot of time, because that's time consuming. And then what would happen? Well, boom, then I would miss out on spending time with my family. And then what would happen? My kids would really be bored. And then what would happen? Maybe my kids could get in trouble. So you kind of go from, this is the top, right? The top thing is, well, goodness, what if I spend $5,000 and it doesn't work? To all the way down where your real fear could very possibly be, you're afraid that your kids are going to get in trouble if you're not around. So then what you want to do, when you kind of peel off those onion layers, then you want to ask yourself, what do I have to believe about me to think that could really happen? And hopefully that answer is going to be so ridiculous that it's going to dilute that fear, and it's going to allow you to start making decisions based on fact and not emotion. Because that's really what's going on. Honestly, in my opinion, If we cannot make a decision in 24 hours about just about anything, it's because there's an emotional connection somewhere that's keeping us stuck. You know, unless you have to rely on maybe data that you need to collect, or you want to get input from somebody that's not around and that you can't talk to them. Otherwise, honestly, I think we're all smart enough that we can evaluate pros and cons within 24 hours. Seriously. You know, but if we're not, we just have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge that maybe there is some fear going on, and that's okay, because not every decision we make is going to be a good one. That's a given. But what we really want to do is we need to make a decision and then make it work, right? I mean, that's half the battle, because once the decision is made, we just have to make it work out the best way possible. And because otherwise, what we don't realize is that our subconscious is there to serve and to protect us, but it doesn't live in our reality. So it doesn't know that if we sit and just keep evaluating and evaluating and evaluating, we're going to miss the boat, because the world does not wait for us, right? So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you'll use that kind of that chunking down exercise when you feel like there's fear rearing its ugly head. If in fact you do feel like fear is keeping you stuck, and that might just be one of the blocks holding you back, I do invite you to schedule a free strategy call with me, and let's talk about that. Because that's what we do in our Simple Success program, is we really work on knocking down those blocks so that you can reach your goals of today. And it really gives you an opportunity to learn about the science of success and how your brain can work for you, not against you, as you reach today's goals. So I invite you to schedule a call. So until we do talk, I wish you savvy success. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye. See ya.